Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette alongside Ron Nicoletti for this excellent Sunday program, and welcome back.
Welcome back. What a lot of fun yesterday. How about that performance by XY Jet in the Mr. Prospect that just 108.56. Lots of fun yesterday.
Oh, a lot of fun, and that was obviously the only 3-year-old in the race for trainer George Navarro, and that horse just rocketed out of the gate and proceeded from there, setting some pretty sharp fractions once again, just a few ticks off the track record. So that was a very impressive performance from that 3-year-old. And then we also had some really impressive performances later in the card in the Tropical Park Oaks and the Derby, and even a really nice maiden special weight.
Yeah, there was a lot of nice horses running yesterday, and it's a couple of those horses you don't know. If you were here yesterday, you might have seen the Florida Derby winner in one of those maiden races.
We very well could see how everything pans out there, but some nice races on yesterday's program, and I hope to transition it onto this afternoon. Sunday fun day here at Gulfstream Park. We have some carryovers this afternoon. Well, one carryover here in the 20-cent Rainbow Six, but we do kick it off with race 1. We have that rolling super high 5 wager in race 1, and we also do have the early 50-cent pick 5 starts in race 1 as well. As we get into the 5th race on the program, the 20-cent Rainbow pick 6 carryover of over $13,000 in that wager. And as we get to the race 6th race on the card, 50-cent late pick 5. I believe you have a ticket for both of those wagers. I've got a ticket for the 20-cent Rainbow pick 6, and quite honestly, I'm interested to see your late pick 5 because I had a tough time with the pick 6 today. Couldn't find a single. I've been trying to find singles. I just couldn't do it today.
I found one, but we'll talk about it a little later on. First, let's look at my early pick 5 because that starts right in this race, and you'll see here I went 3 deep here, 2, 8, 9. I was really tempted to just single the number 8 in here, Wild Horse Annie, but I just didn't have that complete confidence, even very, very early in the wagering this horse up there at the 3 to 5. And you see 3, 3, 2, 3, and then 2 in race number 5 for a $54 ticket. And I think it's a pretty good sequence today. I've got a good feeling about my ticket today. But I got to get out of this first leg. Yesterday I got nailed in the first leg, did well afterwards in the late pick 5. So I want to get out of this one. And I started it with the number 8 in here, and that's Wild Horse Andy. How'd you say it?
I saw it that way as well, but I don't think, as you were mentioning, this is a single by any means. We haven't seen this horse since early April, the 8 Wild Horse Annie. But you do look at kind of the back statistics and the back races for this 6-year-old mare, and she should be able to fire off the layoff. Peter Walder, over the course of the past 5 years, with a 180-plus day layoff at this specific distance. It's a small sample size there, but 1 for 4 in terms of winning, but 4 for 7, 1 for 7 with win percentage, but 4 for 7 in the money. So again, his horses always fire off a little layoff there, and Javier Castellano in the saddle.
Yeah, Javier Castellano in the saddle certainly adds to the appeal there. Wild Horse Annie, a logical choice. I could see why it's up there early on, a big favorite in the wagering. In second, the horse that you had in third is number 9, Tormenta de Oro. Why I like this horse must be respected on her ability, I think, to control the pace, and the surface has been, sort of favoring horses that run at least on or near the lead. Louis Duco has got a 10-pound apprentice in here, Chris McIntosh. So I think this horse has got it going. Maybe he gets loose and steals it.
I agree with you. I think Tormenta de Oro could be the controlling speed. The only other filly that I could see perhaps pressuring the pace would be the 6 Flash Song. She's stretching out from 7 furlongs, 6 furlongs. You go to kind of her back races going the mile, and she has shown the ability to show speed and actually make the lead. But she's got that controlling position to the outside, the 9 Tormenta de Oro, and she could very well get the better of her.
Yeah, and the other horse I threw in was Saintly Bound is the 2, stretching out to a 1-turn mile after shipping in from Indiana Ground and finishing third. Again, similar, going 3/4. Brian Breakers, Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle. One of these horses, I don't know about winning. It could certainly be in the, as you mentioned, we start the day with these rolling super high 5s right in race number 1.
Yeah, so throw in some prices there because ultimately, the 8 is 3 to 5 right now. She is coming off a layoff. If you're looking at that rolling super high 5, it's definitely valuable to throw in some of those crazy odds horses because sometimes we can see complete form reversal.
And that's what makes them pay nicely.
We'll go on to the second race on the card, a 16,000 conditional claimer, 5 furlongs out onto the turf course here. And I land on the 5. I Feel Great as the top selection, and we'll actually take a look at the last time that this horse went this particular distance on the turf, and that was back in July here at Gulfstream. I thought it was a very sharp performance. She had kind of a trio of horses go out to the front end and duel early, and she kind of just sat just off the leaders, swooped around them, and then went on to kick clear under Tyler Gaffalione. Today, Javier Castellano picks up the mount, but again, visually impressive. She just did it effortlessly, and today this will be her 4th start off the layoff there. She has been stretching out to 2 turns on the turf in the past 2 starts at Gulfstream Park West, and I think just cutting back in distance to the 5 furlong, she just seems like she's flattened out a little bit going 2 turns on the turf, but now at the 5 furlongs with the presence of pace in here, I think she could get a good setup.
Yeah, I'm looking at her selections. I saw the race differently in here. We have one horse that's the same. It's the 7, and that is it. But I did go with the number 3, Super Secret, who's turning back to his most accomplished distance thus far. He's had 10 races at this distance with a couple of wins, 4 seconds in the 3rd, rallying to come with a neck of defeating $8,000 condition claimers going a mile. I just like this horse's performances at this distance. Apprentice Vincent Guidel will be in the saddle for Trainer Steve tomorrow.
And this horse makes a whole lot of sense too, because he's through and through a turf sprinter, and last time out he stretched out to the mile. Now in the cutback he should be ready to fire. He again does make a lot of sense. I could have easily used him, but the 7, Tune Into Bow, is an interesting one, and again, this is another horse who's a through and through turf sprinter, 5 furlong sprinter. You like to see these types of horses in here because he's got enough natural speed that he can get into position early, and whether he goes to the lead or whether he takes back, he's going to be forwardly placed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this gelding's going to see just about the same pace scenario we saw last time out, just sit off the speed, and if it gets really glib up front, as we say, this horse can set the perfect trip in there.
The 4, Masquerado here for trainer Leo Gabriel Jr. is a gelding for the first time here, and we take a look at actually some statistics for the barn. Last time out, this horse was bet down to the favorite. However, that was on the main track. So you take a look at first-time turf stats over the past 2 years, and a small sampling size. These 2 for 8, 25%, but a nice positive ROI there, which I thought was interesting, $3.84. So this horse is dropping in class. He has a little bit of speed on the main track. He very well could transition that to the turf.
Yeah, the other horse I threw was the 6, Borin Quinier, is stepping up to the next level after posting the best last race buyer figure. That would be an 80 when he drew clear. He defeated 12-5, 2 claimers by 2+ lengths. Stampeder Edgar Zayas in the saddle today as Vincente Guidel, the 6 with the number 3, Super Secret. So maybe a little bit of chasing jockeys there.
Okay, race 3 on the card, a maiden $35,000 event. 6 furlongs onto the main track. And this, I thought, was an interesting race. The 8 Ever Arch is going to be my top selection. We saw Luis Saez have a very, very nice day on Friday. And this horse, I think, is getting a class relief from her debut performance. We'll take a look at her debut performance, and that was on the 9th of October at Keeneland, sprinting on the main track at 6 furlongs against maiden $50,000 company. And it was a very short field, a field of 5, so you never really know how productive that race is going to be outside of it. But I thought she had this grinding move, and she was going to pass. However, the rider tries to either get her to get away from the inside horse or get her to switch leads, and it just completely knocks her off stride, knocks her into the inside horse, and she loses momentum. I thought if they kind of just maintained a straight path, maintained that grinding run, she could have even won the race. So now dropping in class in terms of main track class-wise, she should be the one to beat.
Yeah, she just her last race didn't look like she liked the sloppy conditions, and that's not going to be the case this afternoon. I'm in total agree with you. Have it on top of my ticket.
Okay, we'll take a look at another horse here, and that is the 6 Sky Cotton, Jose Garofalo. I'm going to be using her into the mix too. Last time out, they tried her against maiden $50,000 company on the turf, but they go back to the main track, and that was another productive race. We saw the second place finisher in there go on to win a maiden special weight in her next start, and actually improving drastically to get a 63 buyer speed figure for that event. So maybe one that figures, but the 3 Little Caton, I think, is one to definitely use as well.
Stepping up a notch today after responding to the addition of Lasix with an improved second place finish against $25,000 maidens. That was going 3/4 of a mile. It was on a sealed sloppy track, and I'm hearing this is named after our colleague Keaton Bradar.
Oh, cool. Very, very nice. Little Keaton. And the barn always has, obviously, little Mike,
Little everything.
little Nick, little Keaton, little Scotty
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
So they always have these interesting names here. The three little Keaton. And that's a big question here. Was this horse improved by first-time Lasix last time out? Or was she a little bit improved by the sloppy sealed track? Could we see a regression, or could we just see an advance off of that last performance? But I think one that for sure figures in that race. We'll go on to the fourth, a maiden $16,000 event on the main track at 7 furlongs. And the 2 Arco de Triunfo is an interesting one, in my opinion, for Juan Rodriguez. I think he's got the speed in here. Last time out at 6 furlongs, he showed speed against maiden $25,000 company. When he debuted, it was at this distance. The biggest question is, can he get the distance? I think he can on the class relief. You look at the horses that he faced last time out. Actually, the winner of that race went on to win an open $35,000 claimer and has been very competitive against kind of allowance optional claiming company. So for a maiden 25, that race came up relatively tough.
Yeah, and there was another horse that come out of that race and win too. So 2 of us, of the 6 starters that come back to run, have won in there. Logical choice to be on the ticket, but I went another different way. The horse that you do have on your ticket, and that's the 6, They All Come Home, is dropping to the $16,000 level after breaking inward at the start prior to uncorking a late rally to finish 5th. That was against $20,000 maidens going 7 furlongs. It was on the one by Polytrack. I want to show you a stat of Nick Gonzalez. I found this one interesting. We've been following these stats since the opening day, and he's 6 for 26, 23% with horses switching from synthetic to the dirt. We've mentioned this a couple of times. Traditionally, over the past years that I've been here, it has not been such a great angle when they first ship in from Canada on the synthetic to the main track, but this year they've been doing great.
They have been doing great. The track has been playing a little bit fast, so that might be something that helps them. And as you can see, in my experience of kind of even handicapping races in Maryland or at Arlington, and you getting kind of horses who come from the Tapeta up at Presque Isle or Woodbine synthetic or really any kind of synthetic, sometimes it takes them a while to train over the surface and then really come back into form. But he has been doing, the connections there have been doing very well, and overall we've been seeing a lot of Woodbine shippers do very well. The interesting horse here, who I didn't use in the ticket, is the 4-1 million you use in the exacta for Murat Zenkal. Gets Lasix for the first time, and the connections won with a first-time starter for maiden 16,000 just yesterday.
And this horse is a son of Wilburn, who I don't know much about the sire, but he shows 10 morning workouts, which included a pair of gate works at Palm Meadows. Sophomore starts his creek. It's Lasix, and guess what? It's got Javier Castellano, so you think this is a live horse in here.
Some quick, decent workouts there. 4 furlongs, 3 furlongs. The only thing is the 7 furlongs in debut sometimes can be a little tricky, but he actually draws a great post, and if he's fit and ready to go in his first asking, he very well could get the job done, as the connections did yesterday.
Exactly.
All right, with races 1 through 4 done, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 carryover of just over $13,000 right after this. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Welcome back to Gulfstream Park as well, and we're going to get into the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. Once again, we do have a carryover, just over $13,000 for that sequence. And I thought a pretty tough sequence, handicapping the sequence on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I always found singles, sometimes 2 singles in the ticket. Today, not so much. I couldn't find a single in the sequence, but we'll take a look at the ticket here as we started off using 4 horses in the first leg, 2, 5, 6, and 10. As we get into the 6th race, 3, 4, 6, race 7 using the 1 and the 2, race 8, 5, 11, 12, race 9, 2, 10, and race 10, 3, 8, 9. I could have used more horses in the final leg of the sequence too, because that's just kind of a wide open event, but sometimes you just have to have an opinion and follow through with it. So I just used my top 3 selections
Well,
there.
your
in the last
tickets have
leg.
been doing great, even if they're not winning. We're getting 5 out of 6, so we're right around there. You just some people might like a different horse and add it to it and get lucky with it.
I seem to always have 5 out of 6. I don't know what it is, but it can be tough when you're. And you and I were speaking about this. Sometimes you take this with a grain of salt. You throw in some horses when you look at our tickets that we provide. You look at them, maybe throw in a horse that you like as well, because sometimes these tickets are very hard to hit if you're providing maybe a ticket that's under $100.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the fun of it. You got to try and win the most by betting the least.
You have to be bold sometimes. Race 5 kicks us off, a maiden special weight on the turf course at a mile and a 16th. And this is a race where I could have gone multiple different directions. So ultimately I used 4 horses in the first leg of the sequence. But the 2 Hudson River Gal does intrigue me. This 3-year-old filly, Mark Cassidy, having a good day on yesterday's program. We saw a lot of nice runners coming out of his barn. And I want to go and talk about a statistic here quickly. Interesting enough, with the 2 Hudson River Gal over the past year, Mark Cassidy transitioning his horses from Churchill to Gulfstream is 3 for 6, 50% with a huge positive ROI of $5.53. So it does pay off. I know a small sample size, but that's only the past year alone.
And his horses have been running fantastically as coming in, and a lot of them are coming in from Churchill down. So that's a good stat to see.
And this is kind of an angle that I've been playing. I played it yesterday with Celestine, and Tammy the Torpedo actually won with the same angle. Some of the races in early to mid-November at Churchill, the ground was a little bit on the softer side, and we've seen them kind of improve outside of those races, kind of on a firmer going. So I'm taking the same approach with the 2 Hudson River Gal, but Julian on the 5, cover up with blinkers on.
Yeah, we got our exactor flip-flopped here. Cover up is stretching out to a mile and a 16th, as you mentioned, with blinkers after rallying to finish a good third. It was against maiden special weight competition going a mile. It was up in New York on the Aqueduct turf. Shug McGay, Javier Castellano were top. This Phipps Stables homebred daughter of Teppet.
She looks very talented here indeed, and she does get the blinkers on, one to definitely use. There are some other interesting horses in here. The 6 Make Me is one that I used in the pick 6, not on my top 3, but she's by Majestic Warrior out of a Quiet American mare. The foals haven't done much just yet, but it looks like last time out they tried to get this filly on the turf and it was rained off and run on the main track. But she comes out of a key race in her debut at Churchill behind Wrath of Ruthie, who looks to be a very talented runner for Steve Asmussen. They went in 109 and change their final time. So again, Julian Leparoux picks up the mount, and she very well could fire first time.
And what a day Julian Leparoux had yesterday. He's been on fire. He had a couple of wins yesterday, a couple of wins the day before. So Julian Leparoux riding in great form. Of course, I just want to throw out there real early on the ticket is the 1 Early Snow. Stretching out today an additional 16th of a mile, finishing 8th behind Cover Up, the horse I have on top going that mile. She's a late striding daughter of elusive quality. Should respond favorably to the added distance. This is a horse I just want to throw in for like the super high 5 or something like that. I think this horse can close. And we watched yesterday, a lot of horses came from off the pace to win on the turf.
Very well so. The 10 Awesome Dove is perhaps one to use in the super high 5 too. Blinkers do go on. This filly gets to the turf for the first time. Trained by Malcolm Pierce, always a very excellent turf trainer. So you'd imagine that he has this filly ready to go. Actually 52% finishing in the money with turfed routes against Maiden Special Weight Company, so that's maybe one to throw into the mix as well. We'll go to race 6 on the card, Maiden $35,000 event at a mile and a 16th on the turf, and interested to see the direction you went in. I didn't have a tough time with this race, but I could have used several different horses.
Yeah, I mean, this one I had to go a little deeper. This one I'm going to show you my late pick 5 ticket here, and I did find a single in here. I don't know if it's the right way to do, but I wanted to use a bunch of horses. I went with 6, 7, and 12 in here, and you see in race number 8, that is my single on the day, and that is Verboden. I think it's pronounced the daughter of Kitten's Joy from Chad Brown. I just thought, I'm going to go with the connections there, and you see the rest of it. We're 4 deep into race number 10, $54 for my ticket.
Excellent stuff. And the 6 qualifying is a horse that I use in the mix as well. But the 3, Cape Caroline. Again, this is the type of race where you get Cape Caroline, Adopt a Kitten, qualifying, all these horses who are dropping from maiden special weight to maiden 35, and really anybody could win.
Well, yeah, it's a wide open affair. And then, we show you our tickets, as we just mentioned. And if you have the ability to stretch in a race like this, that's what you want to do. You might have a couple of singles a little later on. Because this is wide open, I did go with the 6 qualifying, dropping to this level of $35,000, going back to the turf, hitting the gate at the start last time out, finishing next to last. It was a short field. It was a 5-horse field, moved to the turf to a sealed, sloppy track at Aqueduct. But Bill Monty's really good. I'm going to show you this stat. He's 8 for 59. That's 14%. So it's a big sampling here. With the horses making their second career start, a turf start, has Jose Lezcano in the saddle. I keep saying this, love Jose Lezcano on the turf. He won one yesterday for Bill Mott, and I just think that this is a logical choice that you got to have in ticket. Glad to see you used it too.
The 7, Megatoni, is a horse who used in the exacta. And as we're talking about all these horses who are dropping from maiden special weight company, it very well could fall into the hands of a horse who has been competing at this level in the past. And she had to run on the dirt last time out, but now she finally gets back to the turf at a distance of ground. And she, again, could be one that just completely upsets.
Yeah, I got her on the ticket, the exacta ticket. Corey Lanner will be in the saddle. You mentioned that. She was good on the turf, and last time out, had to go to 7 furlongs on the main track. 7.5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park West when it goes to the main track, reverts back to a sprint. So it's a whole different game. They might have been training a horse to go around 2 turns. So I sort of put a line through that race, went back to the 2 turf races, and I think this one has a shot.
That's an interesting pick indeed. Maybe one to use in those multi-race sequences. We'll go on to the 7th race on the card, a $30,000 conditional claimer going on to the main track at 6 furlongs, and I'm shopping for a price here. The 2 Pax Orbis is going to be the top selection for trainer Ralph Nix. And interesting statistic that I actually found this morning. The connections are 3 for 8 in terms of win, 5 for 8 in the money, so 38% win percentage. 3rd off the layoff, going from turf to dirt. So obviously they tried this horse on the turf last time out at 7.5 furlongs. And I think what it boils down to is he's through and through a sprinter, and that's 2 turns on the turf. Now he's cutting back and getting to a more preferred surface. Off the layoff run, back in March here at Gulfstream, he had to contend against some very, very nice horses on the main track. Rockfall, he's a multiple grade 1 winner. You also see City of Weston, a stakes winner. And I do think that even though there are some other horses in here that might have a higher buyer speed figure, if he's ready to fire, he very well could upset here.
Yeah, and he's 5 to 1 on the board. He's actually 3rd choice, so a good pick. I missed that one. I went with the horse you had in 2nd on top, and that's Gallo Donato, and this one making its local turf return. It's had 6 previous races here with 1 win, 2 seconds, and a 3rd. Ending his 2-race campaign across town at Gulfstream Park left with a half length, coming with a half length of winning at this level and distance. Antonio Sano, Edgard Zayas in the saddle this afternoon.
Yeah, he looks to be very, very tough. I backed myself up in the ticket with the 1 Galardonato to the inside. We also have one to the outside, the 10 Carly Ray's Warrior, who's interesting, now cutting back to 6 furlongs, where he has actually been successful in the past. He's actually 5 for 5 in the money at this distance, and I apprehensively did leave him off of my ticket.
You did leave him off your ticket. Well, I went back that horse that he was, he's behind a Pletcher Stakes placed horse, African Fighter, going a 2-turn mile at Gulfstream Park West. And you mentioned this is his game, sprinting here, so both of us do have it on the ticket. But I want to tell you about one horse in here, and that is number 9, Still Crazy. This one is debuting locally at the $30,000 condition claiming level. Showed good speed and weakened against $40,000 optional claimers at Woodbine. Here's a nice stat from Mike DiPaolo. You see this here, it's 36% win average, but he's a 11, 4, 3, and 1 with the move from synthetic to dirt. So I'm following these angles here, and I thought that was a nice statistic, and we'll put this horse on the ticket. I think he's 12 to 1 on the morning line.
Excellent stuff there, and a very, very good statistic there as well. We'll turn our attention to the 8th race on the card, maiden special weight at 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf course. The 2 Majestic Smile is an interesting one. We could also see the 5 Kantira come back with another stellar performance, but ultimately Here is where you single on the 11 Verbowen.
Yeah, Verbowen's the daughter of Kitten's Joy, debuting locally, as I mentioned a little while ago, there for Chad Brown. After an eventful but promising debut in which she broke inward at the start, then she had a check at the 8th pole. She finished 5th in her race. She was only beaten 4.5 lengths in a mile and the 16th. It was at Belmont. And that race has produced, get this, 4 next out winners. So it's a monster key race. She had an excuse in there, and I just thought I'd go a single there.
And she was also running late and visually very impressive. So it almost, I don't necessarily think she's going to be that far off the pace today as she was in her debut. I think she'll be able to settle just off, kind of maybe in the third wave of horses. But I liked the energy that she showed in debut coming down the stretch, and we very well see her could be tough. She'll get the pace that she wants in front of her today, as we have several horses who are stretching out to the mile and an eighth, and we have the 2 Majestic Smile, who was very fast last time out at the mile distance. But ultimately, I go with a priced horse here. That is a 12 Gone Away. Julian Leparoux in the saddle, and she's coming out of what I thought was a very good race, and it was on a soft ground. And the fact that she really put in the solid effort on that kind of lawn and now go into a firmer course, I think can only improve her. We'll take a look at her last replay too. Coming out of the gate, unfortunately, again, she draws that way outside post position once again today. But in this performance, she drew the 11 post. She gets bumped around, kind of bumper cars in between horses there. She gets shuffled back, kind of to the back of the pack. Now, the rider, Victor Carrasco, tries to save some ground going into this first turn and ultimately gets caught about maybe 3-4 wide. Finally coming down the stretch, and this is where I want you to pay attention, Ron. She's closing. She's making a very impressive bid down on the inside and completely hindered there. Again, gets completely reserved down on the inside. No room to run whatsoever. Finally, once a little small gap clears open, she goes on to kind of kick clear and finish well. The gallop out was strong. And the winner of the race went on to win a Grade 3 next out at Del Mar. So, again, a very productive race.
You always do this to me with these replays that you show me. I don't have it on my ticket, and I have to go back and add them for my own personal ticket. I like that. That was a good performance. I'm in lots of trouble there, and as you mentioned, comes out of a race that had a Grade 3 winner in it.
Exactly. So, the 11, obviously using that horse in the mix. The 2, though, Majestic Smile, didn't really know what to do with this filly. She showed speed last time out. Her breeding's very nice. She's by Majestic Perfection. She's out of a mare who won the Grade 2 company. She won at distances up to 9 furlongs. And if she gets to the front end and she has a lone lead, I could very well see her just going gate to wire.
Yeah, and I put her on my ticket in second for that exact reason. She's going to out there, great condition of Graham Motion. He's got Matthew Rispoli in the saddle today. It looks like, I'm guessing the instructions are going to be, got to go out there. At least be first to second going around the turn. And you never quite know what's going to happen with horses that can relax on the front end, just go wire to wire.
And she very well could have just been the fastest of all, because a lot of the time Graham Motion isn't a trainer that says go to the lead and never look back. A lot of the times he even likes to take the horses off the pace. So I don't know really where she's going to sit in terms of this, but we do have a couple of horses. Kantira to the outside. She showed speed going the mile last time out. Maybe they let her go and use her as a target. I'm not so sure, but she is one to respect out of that Aqueduct performance. We'll take a look at the 9th race on the card, the first half of the late daily double on this 10-race program. A 62.50 non-winners of 2 lifetime condition, and we go out to the main track at the 1-turn mile, and we have the 2 World Changer at 9 to 5 on the morning line, taking a big drop in class. This is one of the races too. I only use 2 horses. I'm very suspicious of this horse, even though I pick him on top. I backed myself up with the 10 as I know it. You land on the 4.
Yeah, the 4 Super Zapper is hoping to save something more for the stretch run. Got pressured throughout last time out. Finished second at this level and distance. That was back on opening day. So has a race over the track. And I found this one, World Changer for the reasons you put the horse on top. 2-4 here was the way I saw the race. But also the 12 Ghost Swagger dropping, dropping to this level after running up at Tampa. Jonathan Shepard, Tyler Gaffleone, combination drop-down surface switch. That's a guess, that one.
I I agree. The 10 as I know it, though, is an interesting horse here. Marcus Vitale gets this horse for the first time. The main track workouts have been okay. And the interesting thing, though, this horse was competing against $16,000 company. Now, first time under the barn, the big drop in class, not really a vote of confidence type of move.
No, tough race right there.
It is a very tough race. We'll go on to the 10th and final race on the card. 16,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime going out to the turf course at a mile and a 16th. And another tough race. I thought the 2 Quiet the Issue could win. The 3 Starship Frontier could win. And I ultimately go to that horse here on top. But you land on the 2 who I was very apprehensive to leave out of my top 3.
Yeah, this one is dropping to the $16,000 level after shipping in from Parks to run. I thought a well-meant fourth in that race, beaten only a neck. That was $30,000, 2 lifetime claimers. Going a mile, it was across town, Gulfstream Park West, Giuseppe Ayasadernia. And Edwin Castro will be in the saddle today. A lot of people get that mixed up with Eddie Castro, but they're not the same. But I like the horse.
Yeah,
no matter who's riding it.
no matter who's riding it, absolutely. This horse, has faced Allowance Company on the turf before, now taking the drop in class. The 3 Starship Frontier, the only reasoning that I could make out of this horse's 2 past performances, one, it was on a good ground in the last start, but even more so, had to break from the way outside post position in the past 2 starts. You go back to some of the better races at Gulfstream Park West when he kind of broke in the middle of horses or kind of towards the inside. I thought in his past 2 with that outside post, it kind of took away some of his early speed and he couldn't get into his appropriate position early. Now today, drawing from the 3 post, he has speed, and I think he could definitely use that to his advantage.
Well, one of the horses I did not use, but he's one of the top 3 choices on the morning line, so I can understand, people using this horse.
And the 8 Derby Day Kitten is a horse that you threw into the trifecta. Ultimately, how it shakes out, he's got to get into contention early. Javier Castellano is a perfect rider for this horse, but it just looks kind of like a deep closer, and he very much could run out of real estate if he doesn't get the pace set up.
I thought the race across town was like a workman-like 5th place finish is going to move forward off that. And one of the other horses, maybe not win, but certainly could be on the final rolling super high 5 of the day.
The 9 Morning Tail, second time off the freshening here, and again gets in with a lightweight 5-pound apprentice. This is a horse who really spotted the field by 5 lengths early and then just seemed to falter late and should be another pace presence.
Yeah, and I've been mentioned, like you mentioned, angles at Churchill. This is Gulfstream Park West. During this sequence, not many horses were able to win on the front end. That's just the way the turf course was playing there. So I've been using that as an angle. If I see horses that maybe were battling against the bias, I've been using them on my ticket.
That's a great angle indeed. We have 10 races on tap today. Once again, a reminder, we do have a carryover in the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. Just over $13,000, and that does start in today's 5th race on the 10-race program. Thank you for joining us here once again on Gulfstream today, and that's a wrap for us. But we'll be back for the first race, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, we'll be back in just a few minutes. But first, Larry Comas will be up shortly with scratches and changes. Best of luck.